I was impressed with that move you pulled. Bang.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's me, it's G, it's DMC, the undefeated, undisputed YouTube champion. That's right, it's the Maverick, Mark Daniels. Let's get a good spin there. God damn it, pal. Let's get a good spin in there. That's what I'm talking about. This thing is falling apart, as you can see. I've had this for a long time, probably close to 10 years. Don't know why I haven't, but I do, and I'm glad I do. Anyways, guys, this is the Raw review for July 10th, 2017 from Houston, Texas. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, so what I do is I write like an outline, right? And I use Google Docs, so I'll type it as I'm watching the show. And I kind of write an outline so I don't forget anything important. And next to it, I'll put like a little check mark, a little symbol. And what I do is I'll color it. If it's green, I liked it. If it's red, I disliked it. And this is the first time in a long time that I don't have a red check mark next to anything. Anything in my notes, not a single red check mark. Now, there might be some things that I wasn't fond of, and we'll talk about that as we go through the show. But overall, I thought tonight was a good Raw. I mean, it's crazy how good this week has been so far for wrestling. Great Balls of Fire last night. A little bit of controversy there, but I think after tonight, we can all agree was it can get a lot better from there. I thought Great Balls of Fire was great. A lot of people thought it was great, but there's some people who didn't like it because how Samoa Joe was treated. But after tonight, I thought he's got all his credibility and more, let me tell you. And I'm excited to see what happens next week, and we'll talk about that, of course. But this has been the best Raw I've seen in a while. Last couple of Raws have been all right. They've been, good, kind of in the middle in some cases. But then there was a lot of bad Raws before. There's like a string of just bad Monday Night Raws, and they carried over to SmackDown, and it sucks. But so far this week, thumbs up. So let's talk about it. So we started things off with Big Cass. He came down to the ring, and he cut a promo about how he doesn't want people to be on a bandwagon. He's going to prove everybody wrong. He's going to be a future Universal Champion. He gave Enzo what he deserved, and no Enzo on the show. We didn't get Enzo at all. Kind of disappointing. But they did do what I thought they would do, and I mentioned this in my Great Balls of Fire predictions, and I think a lot of people kind of predict. I mean, it's something that's you can kind of see a mile away, right? And as soon as he said the word big, I knew that the Big Show was coming out. So he would say things like, no one is better than me. No one's blah, 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 blah. And then he said, no one is bigger than me. No one can touch me. And then, of course, the Big Show came out, and they go face-to-face, and they brawl. And that's going to be a match we'll probably see at SummerSlam, which is good. Good. I'm cool with that. I like the segment. I thought Cass had a really, really good promo. And him versus the Big Show makes sense, man. Hey, I'm not a gigantic fan, no pun intended, of the Big Show. I mean, they're not going to put on a 5-star classic. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Braun Strowman and Big Show had those two good matches, but I don't see that coming from Cass and Big Show. But it's good for Cass. This is a good obstacle for him. He gets the better of the Big Show. It's a big rub for him. Pun that time was intended. And he gets the big rub from the Big Show. Anyways, phrasing, damn it. Phrasing, damn it. It's going to be good, though. I think Cass beats the Big Show at SummerSlam. He goes on to bigger and better things. Whatever that is, I don't know. I mentioned yesterday maybe he'll be in line for the Intercontinental title here really soon. I think that'd be a good spot for him. I think you give him the Intercontinental belt and see what he can do. Give him a chance. I'm going to give him a chance. I thought he killed this promo. I still think he's missing something. I don't know what it is. Last night at Great Balls of Fire, he came out. He just looked so generic. He had that shitty music that's generic, and I don't know, man. He's just missing something. I don't know what it is. He just needs something added to his character to make him a little bit more intriguing. Because right now he's just kind of like Gene Snitsky. He's kind of like Test, Mike Knox. Just a big guy. Just a big guy. That's his gimmick. I'm a big guy. I'm 7 foot tall. That's his gimmick. So I think he needs something more. Another layer. Although this storyline does help. I enjoy this storyline between him and Enzo. Maybe Enzo cost him the match against the Big Show at SummerSlam. That's how they continue the feud. I don't know, but I think we'll definitely see him versus Enzo at least 1 or 2, maybe 500 times. Next, we had Elias Sampson. He came out and sang a song for Balor, and the crowd ate it up, man. He even said that, please, hold your applause to the end of to the end of the performance. And they started clapping right away, and he was annoyed. This is great, man. It's funny. I was not a big fan of Elias Sampson on NXT. Wasn't a big fan, but man, him on Raw, he's killing it, man. He's really going out there. He's really showing a lot of charisma out there, and his matches are pretty good. He had a match with Finn Balor after he started singing. Finn Balor came and interrupted him, of course. Had a really good match. Finn won, but it was a good match. Gets up another match between these two guys. I'm really digging it, man. I'm digging Elias Sampson. Unfortunately, though, this is kind of a demotion for Finn Balor. It sucks, they at least they acknowledge him as the first Universal Champion whenever he's out there. But still, it's just kind of like, you can't find something else for Finn Balor to do. This is great for Elias Sampson, not so good for Finn Balor. But still, I give this segment and the match. I thought it was really good. I give it a thumbs up. Then we had the Hardy Boys come out, and this was awesome. The crowd ate this up. I ate this up too. I was smiling ear from ear. They go out there and they, say maybe we should, pronounce ourselves obsolete, and the crowd started chanting delete. They had a proclamation, so they really started hinting at the broken character. They even mentioned that we were bruised and somewhat broken, and of course the crowd ate that up too. And then Anderson and Gallows came out, which was cool. They came out. They called them old, and they called them a bunch of nerds. I do find that to be humorous. It's just kind of like a weird thing, but it's funny. I enjoy Anderson and Gallows. I actually enjoyed them as when they're doing the Doctor gimmick too. I know a lot of people were sour on that, but I thought it was fine. These guys, they had a great match, the Hardy Boys, tonight. Really good match, actually. Anderson and Gallows won. Now, granted, the Hardy Boys were injured from the Iron Man match, and then afterwards, the Revival came out, and it almost looked like they were gonna attack, Anderson and Gallows, but they didn't. They bypassed them and attacked the Hardys. So this goes back to what I said last night. There are no other babyface tag teams on this Raw roster. You have the Hardy Boys, and that is it. The only other team that you could possibly make out of babyface at the moment, unless you throw some people together, you have Heath and Rhino, which I forgot to mention yesterday, but they haven't really been teaming together. But you could use them. And then you could also do any mixture between Titus, Apollo, and Tozawa. You're gonna make a babyface team out of those three. Because even though Titus was kind of a heel at first, I think he's a face now. I don't know. They didn't really make it official, but I find their whole thing to be pretty entertaining. And he's really helping, Akira Tozawa and Apollo Crews out. He really is. He's giving them opportunities, and he's really, storyline wise, So I'm getting behind that whole thing too. So they could definitely make a babyface tag team out of Apollo and Titus, or even Akira and Apollo if Akira can't win the Cruiserweight title. Although, granted, they don't really mix and coexist the Cruiserweights with other people, with the exception of the Titus Worldwide. It's no longer called the Titus brand. But no, this match was great. The Revival attack and beat down on the Hardys was awesome. They hit him with the Shatter Machine. I thought that was awesome. Great way to bring them back into the mix. And then after that, we had the Mizzies, which I thought, again, pretty entertaining segment. It wasn't the greatest segment in the world, but I did enjoy it. Miz, he was giving out. He had 3 trophies or awards out there, and he was giving them out to the Miz Taraj, to Maurice, and himself. The first one was for the best supporting actor, and he said for the first time in the Mizzy's history, which this is the only bit of history that has, we have a tie between Curtis and Bo, and they were so happy. It was funny because the crowd started chanting "You deserve it," which was hilarious. It was mocking that chant was awesome. I literally started laughing at that, and Bo Dallas cuts a pretty good promo. Was thanking the Miz for giving her the chance, and then Curtis Axel I'm really digging Curtis Axel, man. He had a good promo last night when they were on not Talking Smack, but Raw Talk. And then I think it's called Raw Talk when it's after a pay-per-view, right, for Raw? I don't know. Anyways, he just really good promo from him. I mean, it's not like tearing up the world, but I thought he spoke well, right? He speaks well. He's a good speaker. But I feel like $1 million. I look like $1 million. And thanks to the Miz, I'm gonna make $1 million. I thought it was good. This is great. I always liked Bo Dallas. Always liked Curtis Axel. I know a lot of people were sour on Curtis Axel when he was Intercontinental Champion. I thought it was fine. I mean, he's not Mr. Perfect, and that's the problem. I feel bad for someone like Curtis Axel or like a Richie Steamboat or any of these second and third generation stars that get compared to their old man. Lucky for Bo Dallas, he's being compared to IRS, who's not like a bad worker or anything, but he was not necessarily known for his work rate. But Mr. Perfect is one of the greatest of all time. So when your father is one of the greatest of all time, there's high expectations from you. And if you're green and you don't quite make those expectations yet because you're still kind of new to the business, well, you get compared to him and people are just like, he sucks. And that sucks for Curtis. I think Curtis does have potential. Do I think he's a main eventer? No, not right now. Could he be in the future? Possibly. I don't necessarily see that yet, but you never know. You never know what happens. But I like this. It's a good resurgence for both these guys. They both deserve it. As the crowd said, You know, these guys deserve some TV time. They're both great. Bo is awesome. He was awesome as NXT champion. One of my most favorite NXT moments was when he was being torn out of the NXT building because he lost. I believe it was against Neville, and if he lost, he had to leave NXT. He came back the next week in a mask, and he gets unmasked during the match. And they try escorting him. He's like kicking and screaming on his way out. Hilarious stuff, man. I love Bo Dallas, and I think this is great. They're perfect with The Miz. I've said this before. I think The Miz can get anybody over. The Miz is so hated. He's so good at what he does. He can make anybody a star. You know, it happened with Alex Riley on accidents. You know, that definitely was not their intention. Got Alex Riley over, and I like Alex Riley just fine. He's not a great wrestler or anything, but he's fine. I know a lot of people were hard on him too, but I never really thought he was the worst thing in the world. I've seen worse. Let's put it that way. Did I think he was a major star? No, but you know he had potential. I thought. But anyways, Alex Riley got super over because of Mizdow. Of course, Sandow. You know, everyone at the time thought Sandow was the most talented guy, most underutilized guy on the roster, and then you put him with the Miz, and he gets himself super over, and we all know how that ended up. But the Miz is great. The Miz is great in his role, and they're perfect together as a team. He then gave an award for the most beautiful, sexy female actress, and of course Maurice was acting like, "Oh please, I hope it's me. I hope it's me. I hope it's me." And of course the Miz gave it to Maurice, and Maurice was almost in tears thanking the Miz. And then of course Miz had the final award. You know, it was the greatest man. You know, basically the greatest man ever award, the most handsome. You know, he kept going on this diatribe of things, and then he lifts up the envelope and goes, "Dean Ambrose." And the crowd he kind of popped, and he's like, "Nah, I'm just kidding." Showed the envelope and said the Miz. He's like, "It's me. It's the Miz." And then afterwards, Dean comes out, and they start fighting. And Seth Rollins comes out as well, and they start fighting together. This leads into a backstage segment where Dean says, you know, ask Seth, "What are you doing out there? I don't need your help. I don't want your help. This isn't a Shield reunion." You can hear the crowd in the background kind of boo. You know, he says, "I don't trust you. I know who you are," and yada yada yada. Basically, I like that. I like that he doesn't trust Seth because they've gone through a lot, you know, kayfabe wise, where you know they were in the Shield together. He turned on Roman and Dean, and then Dean and Seth had that long feud. I'm glad he never forgot that. I'm glad they brought that back up. That's something they don't do a lot. It's very common that they would just act like that never happened, and these guys just team together because they have a similar interest. Because they're baby faces, and baby faces team together, heels team together. So I'm glad that there was a little bit of tension between the two. Then we had Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax. Not a bad match. The crowd got really into it near the end of the match. It ended with Sasha Banks was on the outside. Nia Jax went to tackle her into the barricade. I think for a minute, for some reason I was stuck on Alexa being on the outside of the ring, which she wasn't. Bayley rolled up Alexa. She was distracted, and then 1, 2, 3. Bayley pins Alexa. What happens next? I don't know. My guess it's going to be a fatal 4-way at the SummerSlam pay-per-view for the women's title. You have all 4 women in there. It would make sense since Alexa lost to Bayley. Sasha and Alexa obviously aren't done because Alexa lost by countout. So Sasha deserves a rematch. And then Nia Jax is Nia Jax. So we could definitely see a fatal 4-way. And I think it'd be a fine match. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of multi-man matches at SummerSlam. Same thing they do at WrestleMania. They want to get everybody they can on the card. And you have 2 shows. You have SmackDown and Raw both trying to get people on the show. So I think there's going to be a lot of multi-person matches. I think, I didn't mention this during the tag team segment, but I think that all leads to a fatal 4-way tag team title match, right? You have Anderson and Gallows. They just beat the Hardys. The Revival came and beat up the Hardys. And then you have the Hardys, who deserves another match after they almost tied the Iron Man match up. They were just a second away. And then, of course, you have the tag team champions, Cesaro and Sheamus. I could definitely see that being a fatal 4-way match as well. Maybe an elimination match or a gauntlet match. Who knows? But I think we might see a multi-man tag team match and a multi-women's match. But it was a pretty decent match. Honestly, the tag team match wasn't bad. And we had R-Truth versus Goldust. Maybe the lowest thing in the show. Before this happened, Goldust cut a pretty decent promo backstage. It was pre-taped, obviously, but it was pretty good. Said this was going to be like the next chapter or the sequel of their feud. R-Truth came out and did his rap thing, and it was an okay match. It was nothing special. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't good. It continued. I don't know if it continues to feud or not. This might be it. But Goldust wins the match, and that's the end of it. Goldust is still good. R-Truth is still good. They're both up there in age, but they both put on a decent match. I mean, it wasn't nothing exciting, honestly, but it was all right. And then this is where the show really got, to me, easily the highest point of the night. Kurt Angle came out. He brings out Brock Lesnar. Says he wants to talk about the title match at SummerSlam. And Brock and Paul Heyman. Well, actually, Paul Heyman's like, listen. We don't get paid to do this kind of thing. How about you go in the back, you figure this out yourselves, and we'll just get out of here. And then, of course, Roman Reigns comes out. Bam, 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 bam. He comes out. And at first, I was kind of worried. I was like, are they just going to ignore the fact that he tried killing Braun Strowman? You know what I mean? Because there was no repercussions for that yet. And Kurt Angle just basically just said, you have the nerve, you have some nerve coming out here. And you could tell some of these lines were really, really scripted. Like, just because the timing of them was just like, come on. But then it started to pick up, though. At this part, it started off a little slow, but when Joe came out, it was great. But we'll get to that in a second. So Roman's basically tells Kurt, after he asked him, he was telling me, you have the nerve to come out after what you did to Braun Strowman. He says, you guys are both from the Attitude Era. You guys are going to tell me I have nerve for doing what I did? And it's like, I get what you're coming from, but it's circumstances a little different. He talked about, Paul Heyman's the king of the extreme, but I don't know if anyone actually tried, smashing someone with an ambulance into a semi-truck. I probably did it in the Attitude Era. What am I kidding? There was a lot of crazy stuff in the Attitude Era, and a lot of it I can't even remember. I mean, that was so long ago, and I was a kid at the time, but great stuff, right? And I enjoyed that ambulance segment, by the way. Oh, so good. I just wish Braun would have came out tonight at some point, but I think he might come out next week or out during SummerSlam. Because during the segment, they're talking Roman and Brock in each other's face. Paul Heyman goes to talk for Brock, and Brock snatches the microphone out of his hand. He starts talking. The crowd popped for that. I did too, because business is about to pick up. And Brock says something like, you ain't shit, bitch. But they censored it. I could tell he said, you ain't shit, but I'm assuming he said bitch afterwards, and the crowd went, oh, and Paul Heyman's face was just like, oh, fuck. I don't know if that was a work or not, because he was selling it pretty good. Like, oh my God, Brock, you can't be saying that shit. It was good, though. It was great. And shortly after that, Samoa Joe comes out, and he is, my God, is Samoa Joe on fire. He goes out there and he gets in Brock's face, and Kurt Angle has to get between them, and they're about to fight, and he gets in Roman's face and tells him, you don't deserve a title match. You've never beaten me. And they just go back and forth, and it basically ends up being Kurt Angle says, okay, I know what we're going to do next week. We'll have a one-on-one match, Roman versus Samoa Joe. Winner goes on against Brock at SummerSlam. Now I can see a multitude of things happening, and that's exciting. This is exciting. Not very often do they set up things for next week, right? So, for instance, it's pretty obvious to me we're going to see a tag team match between Dean and Seth versus Miz and Bray, or Miz and one of the Miz Taraj members, or whomever. It's pretty obvious to me there's going to be a tag team match next week for those two, and we'll talk about that in a second. And it's obvious we're going to have the main event being Roman versus Samoa Joe, which is going to be a great match. And it has high stakes. The winner goes against Brock at SummerSlam. I can see Braun Strowman coming out there, laying out Roman Reigns. He loses by DQ, or wins by DQ, I should say. And then they have to decide, okay, well, maybe we'll just make it a Fatal 4-Way match, which is what I do want to see happen. However, with all these multi-man matches that I'm predicting happening, I don't know if that's the best idea. Or you have Roman Reigns win, and then Braun cost the match at SummerSlam, which I don't want to see happen. I'd rather see someone win or lose cleanly, because it's for the Universal title. It's one of the biggest shows of the year, too. So you don't want to see a screw job finish for the main event. That's what you say this for the B shows to build up these bigger shows, right? And I don't want to see that happen either. So I would like to see a Fatal 4-Way. Maybe we'll see Samoa Joe win, and then Braun attack Roman afterwards, and we have Roman versus Braun, and Joe versus Brock, which is exactly what we just saw last night, but I'd be in favor of it, honestly. They already set up so many rematches from last night, it's unreal. Then during this, Corey Graves leaves the announce table, goes to Kurt, and Kurt's freaking out like, I don't know what I got to do. I got to come clean about this. I got to bring this up. So he says that he's going to come next week. Then we have a Cruiserweight tag team match, Akira Tozawa and Cedric Alexander versus Noam Dar Neville. Akira Tozawa is the one that gets the pin on Neville with the diving senton. Pretty decent match. Then we had Bray Wyatt's Jibber. Probably another low point for me. I didn't necessarily hate it. It was quick. It wasn't as long as it usually is, where he sits there and goes, blah, 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 I'm Bray Wyatt, blah, blah, blah. One thing I will say, so we had Seth and Bray, have their match at the main event, and it was really good, actually. It was a really good match. The crowd was into it. I wasn't into it at first. I don't care about this feud at all. To me, I don't know what they're fighting for. There really isn't a few. Like, there's no story. Bray's just like you're old. You're the Seth of old. I know you are. You're not a different person. Blah blah blah. And Seth's like, nah, man, I'm a changed man. Let's fight. And now they're in a feud. It's a really weak feud, honestly, but the match was good. The match was really good. Bray takes advantage of the eye once again. He had a black eye, Seth did, and wins with Sister Abigail. It was the same eye he poked at Great Balls of Fire. Ends up winning the match. Afterwards, Bray's little thing popped up and he disappeared. And then Miz and the Miztourage come out from the crowd. They go to beat up Seth Rollins. They get into the ring. They start beating him up. The Ambrose comes out the chair, starts beating them up. And after my notes, I thought that was it. So I put good Raw. And then afterwards, I said, wait, Angle. He was on the phone, and he was on the phone with whoever he was talking about. And he said, next week we need to tell the world. We need to tell the world. And, I'm proud of you and hope you're, proud of me. And he said he loves them. What is that? So immediately, everyone, including myself, thinks it's going to be Dixie Carter. What does that mean, though? Dixie Carter's coming to Raw? Is that what's happening? Is she going to become an authority figure? Are we about to see Dixon land in full swing? Are we going to see a TNA invasion angle? I don't know what's going on, guys. I don't know. But if they were going to do a TNA invasion angle, why in the world would you let Austin Aries ask for his release? He would be a perfect member of that. I don't see that happening. But what I do see happening is Dixie Carter coming out, similar to like Eric Bischoff back in the day. Eventually, she'll probably get control of Raw if everything works out all right for them. It'll be interesting. I'll say that much. If it's not her, he didn't talk to them as if it was Stephanie McMahon, because I thought that would be interesting too, right? If it was Stephanie McMahon, he told them that he loved her. That would be kind of weird, and it could lead to a match between him and Triple H, but that'd be like some Attitude Era shit. So I don't know if they're gonna do that. I don't know who else it would be. He told them he loved them. Maybe it would be Sting, but that wouldn't really make, like, why would that be so taboo? Because he's acting like this is such a weird thing. So the only thing I think is maybe Dixie Carter, but we already know she's on the network for his 24 special. So I don't know. This could be a huge letdown, but I'm intrigued nonetheless. So they set up so much for next week. They have the Kurt Angle announcement of whatever the fuck this is. They have Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe for the number one contendership. Potential Braun Strowman interference. I would love to see. I want to see Braun on my TV screen ASAP. He's the man. He is the man. And then we're possibly going to see, not necessarily something I'm looking forward to, but probably something we will see, is a tag team match of some sorts with the mix of Miz and Bray, Miztourage, and of course Seth and Dean on the same team. Maybe we'll see Enzo next week. Maybe we'll get some comeuppance on Big Cass. We'll see. I'm excited for Raw next week, though. It's going to be a really good show. And then, of course, tomorrow night, SmackDown, we're going to find out the backlash of AJ Styles and the U.S. title. That's kind of what they announced during the show tonight. What are the consequences for AJ Styles winning the U.S. title? Blah, 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 blah. So, will they have the rematch on SmackDown? Or are they going to wait till SummerSlam? I don't know. One thing I do firmly believe, well, actually, no, they have a pay-per-view because they have Battleground. So I think the reason why, I haven't really talked about this yet, but I think the reason why they took the U.S. title off Kevin Owens and gave AJ Styles on a house show is so that they can have the rematch at Battleground so that AJ Styles can have a new contender at SummerSlam. And to me, there is only one man. He's an artist. And I think these guys are going to paint a beautiful picture. Fucking corny. I think it's going to be Shinsuke versus AJ at SummerSlam. However, I would love to see that Mania instead. Even for the world title, not for the world title, doesn't matter. I just think that WrestleMania would be the better show for that. But SummerSlam is probably the second best show you can do it at. Maybe the Acceptance, maybe Royal Rumble, but I think they both should be in the Royal Rumble instead of having a match. I'm excited to see if they do that. That'd be exciting to see. Otherwise, I don't know what they would do with the U.S. title. They could have Kevin Owens versus AJ again at SummerSlam. They could have AJ Styles versus Rusev. Once Rusev's done with Cena, if they don't continue their feud, we could see AJ Styles versus John Cena for the U.S. title for SummerSlam. That'd be a big match. There's a lot of possibilities, but I'm excited to see what happens, man. Wrestling's been really good this week. I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow night. And I want to know in the comment section below, guys, what you thought about Monday Night Raw. Who do you think Kurt Angle was talking to on the cell phone? Who do you think is going to win between Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns, and why? Do you think he'll end up in a triple threat match at SummerSlam? Do you think, because they could very easily have Brock just come out and destroy them both, right? And then that sets up a triple threat match, and then maybe Braun gets involved in that, and that sets up for something else in the future. But I think whatever happens, Braun's getting involved somewhere, whether it's next week, whether it's SummerSlam. I don't think Braun's going to be gone that long. He can't be, right? He can't be. I know he almost died in an ambulance, but we got to have that man on our TV. We've suffered enough when he had that surgery. We suffered enough, you know. But no, I'm excited to see what happens there. But anyways, guys, let me know in the comment section below, like I said, what you guys think. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you're new. And until next time, which will be tomorrow night, guys, I am the Maverick Mark Daniels, bidding you farewell, peace, and one love.